The golden age of science. Eruditio. To the rest of the land of dawn, it is the shining pinnacle of human achievement, a city built on brass, glass, and the relentless pursuit of tomorrow. But for a young girl named Layla, it was something far simpler. It was a playground of gears, a sanctuary of blueprints, and the smell of old parchment that filled her father's study. Layla's childhood was a symphony of progress. She didn't dream of dolls or fairy tales. She dreamed of the stars, guided by the man who seemed to know every secret they held. Her father was the city's most brilliant scholar, a pioneer who looked at the universe not for what it was, but for what it could become. In those early years, Layla felt invincible. She believed that as long as her father was there to turn the wrenches and adjust the lenses, the darkness of the world could never reach her. To her, he wasn't just a scientist. He was the sun around which her entire world orbited.
The day the world broke. But in eruditio, knowledge is a dangerous currency, and curiosity often demands a heavy toll. One evening, the warmth of the laboratory was replaced by a chilling static. The air grew thick, smelling of ozone and ancient energy. Layla watched from the shadows of the doorway, her eyes wide with a terror she couldn't yet name. A secret experiment, a doorway to the multiverse, began to collapse. A violent tear appeared in the fabric of reality, screaming with the sound of 1,000 storms. Violet light, colder than the deepest winter, flooded the room. In one horrific heartbeat, the rift claimed its prize. Layla screamed his name, but her voice was swallowed by the roar of the void. Her father was gone. No goodbye was spoken. No final look was shared. In an instant, her sun was extinguished, leaving nothing but an empty workshop and a silence that felt like a physical weight on her chest.
The weight of silence. The years that followed were a long gray blur. Eruditio continued to grow, its gears turning as if nothing had happened. But for Layla, time had stood still. Her mother, once a vibrant partner in her father's work, became a ghost, a woman buried alive in the very research that had claimed her husband's life. Layla was left to raise herself in the shadows of a tragedy that the city chose to forget. She grew up with a bitter ache in her heart, a resentment that sharpened with every passing year. She hated the technology that took him. She hated the city that moved on without him. But most of all, she hated the question that haunted her every waking hour. Why? Why did he leave her? Why was his work more important than his daughter? She was an orphan of science, a child of the rift, walking the streets of a brilliant city with a soul that felt utterly dark.
The discovery and the trial. Destiny, however, has a way of hiding in the dust of the past. While searching through her father's forbidden archives, Layla found her inheritance. It wasn't a letter or a memento. It was a weapon, the malefic gun. A massive, terrifying cannon designed to harness the very energy that had torn her family apart. The first time she touched it, the gun felt like a curse. It was heavy, cold, and resisted her every move. But she refused to let it go. She trained in the dead of night, her muscles aching and her hands blistered from the recoil. Every time the cannon's blast threw her to the ground, she stood back up. She wasn't just learning to shoot, she was learning to carry her father's burden. She realized that this gun was the only bridge left to him, the only piece of him that still hummed with life in this cold, metallic world.
The Guardian of the Gates. The lonely girl vanished, and in her place stood a guardian. Layla emerged from the shadows of her grief as the malefic gunner. When the monsters of the abyss threatened the borders of Erudicio, it was her cannon that answered. The brilliant blue light of her blasts became a beacon of hope, a signal to the city that they were safe as long as she stood on the walls. She became a legend, a hero with golden pigtails and a weapon that could pierce the night. But even as the crowds cheered her name, her eyes remained fixed on the horizon. She wasn't just fighting for the city, she was firing into the dark, hoping that somewhere across the dimensions, the light would reach the man who had started it all. She was no longer just a daughter. She was a soldier waiting for a miracle.
The reunion and the revelation. And then the miracle came. Not with a whisper, but with a roar. The sky over Erudicio tore open once more, and a man stepped out of the violet storm. He was battle-worn, his clothes tattered by the friction of 1,000 worlds, his eyes filled with the weariness of an eternity of fighting. Nolan had returned. In that moment, the years of anger evaporated like mist. Layla didn't see a scientist who had abandoned her. She saw a father who had spent a lifetime in the void, fighting a silent war to keep the multiverse from collapsing onto his daughter's home. He hadn't left her for his work. He had left her so that she would have a world left to live in. The rift hadn't just taken him, it had made him her silent protector.
The final light. Layla is no longer the girl crying in the laboratory doorway. She is a woman who understands that some lights are meant to burn so that others may stay warm. Together, though separated by duty and dimension, they stand as the first line of defense for the Land of Dawn. Her malefic gun no longer fires out of pain or spite. It fires with purpose. It fires with love. The light of Erudicio finally shines with its true brilliance, and as long as Layla holds the trigger, that light will never, ever go out.